Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Print Dashboard. Why special? Because today we will be talking about not one, not two, but three key trends and developments concerning cars. The Red Bull budget cap breach that has created a storm in the world of motorsport, the bane of dangerous driving, and why auto content creators with considerable social media influence must talk about it more. And lastly, the most important event on the calendar of the Indian auto industry, the Auto Expo 2023, that's scheduled in January next year. And like always, the Prince Auto expert Kushan Mitra is in the studios to navigate us through all this. Welcome, Kushan.
Thank you, Anurag.
So let's start with this F1 thing. Even I am pretty interested. In fact, I would say I would walk out of this interaction with a lot of new information. Right now, I just have curiosity. What is this? If you could explain it to our listeners, what is this budget cap controversy, and what exactly is it that Red Bull is being accused of?
Okay, so in Formula One, because those cars are very expensive, a lot of teams are spending far too much money developing their cars. Some teams like Ferrari and Mclaren were spending as much as $250 million a year. And, they were leaving the smaller teams behind. And I think what the authorities in Formula One wanted was to get, a grip on costs and keeping costs manageable and making the sport more competitive, letting the smaller teams also catch up.
Right.
So they set a agreed budget cap for 2021 of $145 million. And all the teams agreed to this. And at the same time, it was told that there will be significant penalties if the teams breached that budget cap. Now, what Red Bull Racing has been accused of, and keep in mind, Red Bull Racing's Max Verstappen won the championship last year, Drivers' Championship.
The Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yeah, the controversial Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. At that, and over there, he was. Now it has emerged that Red Bull has had a minor broach of the, spending cap. Now the spending cap is $145 million a year, which is no chump change, and a minor broach means up to 5%, but that is still that's more than $7 million. And as some other teams, particularly McLaren and Mercedes, are talking about, $7 million is a lot of money. It could mean a brand new car, a brand new development, a brand new front wing, because these cars are all about aerodynamics and that's where the costs go in. So they want a strict punishment to be levied on Red Bull Racing. Red Bull Racing has come out and said that, in the past also people have broken the rules and they've gotten away with, a slap on the wrist.
So I was reading an article and it said that it's been nearly 300 days to what is being probed. The event which is being probed or the timeline that is being probed for Red Bull it's almost 300 days since the governing body of the F1, the FIA, has been probing. But I would want you to take our listeners, our viewers, to the backstory. Who are the people who prompted this, the governing body to get into the probe?
I don't think the governing body had to get into the probe. The governing body, because this 2021 was the first year of the spending cap.
Right.
They got a proper audit team, one of very large auditing firm from the UK to go through everybody's audits, and they submitted bills. For everything from food bills, catering bills, all the way to, travel bills and expense bills, all of that. And even time in the wind tunnel was valued at a certain cost. So teams submitted bills. Now, of course, many other teams have been punished because they have these small, whenever you have an audit, right? And if you've ever, unfortunately, had to go through a tax audit, how the CA might say, sir, aapne ye bill nahi diya.
Right.
And, you won't get a tax refund on that. And how, my CA scolds me all the time. I'm sure your CA does too, if you're going to get a tax deduction on something or the other. Similarly over here as well, but it appears that Red Bull did some very creative accounting. We are not sure of all the details as yet, but the other teams are livid. They are
Right.
saying, how is this allowed to pass? And it's 300 days also because auditing takes time. God forbid you've got to go through a tax audit, but it takes time.
Right, right. But I mean, it's not just Red Bull. In fact, Aston Martin have
yeah.
also been accused of a breach. Though, I mean, when it comes to the magnitude of it, the fine print of it, they appear to be the lesser of the two offenders.
I think they have been accused of submitting wrong documents or not
Yeah,
submitting
it
documents.
says procedural breach. To be
Yeah,
precise.
procedural breach. I mean, that could be like, didn't submit a bill on time, or, you're claiming a travel expense, but the bill was submitted 2 months later. I mean, from what I understand, it's a...
You think that can happen to anybody?
That can happen to you or me, right? When you go on, say, a tour and you forget to submit a bill.
Because it was the very first year, as you mentioned, of these new rules to kick in last season.
Yeah.
And because it's the entire sport is very professionally run, so to say. So how is it that like Aston Martin could not figure things out?
Well, maybe sometimes, you forget, no matter how well planned you are, you could forget to submit a bill. That can happen. That can happen. It does happen. It happens to the best of us. I don't think Aston Martin has done anything egregiously wrong. I mean, and they didn't win anything, right? At the end of the day, they got a bit of money, and I'm sure they'll pay a big fine for it. But for Red Bull Racing, I think they did creative accountancy. And, just like the income tax authorities over here would go after you if you do creative accountancy, I'm sure the FIA, and I would like the FIA to put their stamp on this, because if they don't punish somebody, enough, then, people will try and get away with such a broach again.
Right. And all of that was done to allegedly, as of now, to make changes in the engine, the car.
Engine, the car, could be anything. And last year it was a very tight championship till the very last race, Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And changes cost money, which, as I said, could be the front wing, which could be $500,000 here or there. It could be modifications, and every little
Can we say that all the excitement that was seen, close contests last year, especially the Abu Dhabi one, where Lewis Hamilton was pretty close to winning that final lap, and things turned out to be different, and it was Red Bull which took the finish. So can we say it wasn't all the suspicion, a lot of fans thinking about putting their brains to other directions? Was it not? There was a backstory to it.
There is a backstory to it.
It's now coming out after this.
No, there was a huge controversy even at that time. And when this came out, and even when the column came out on Sunday, when I shared it with some other people who I know love Formula One, they said, they mentioned something to me. They said Formula One has become very tribal, in the sense it's become like club football, where you're very, very tribal. I'm an Arsenal supporter, so I'm very tribal about that. And Formula One is not, you don't just celebrate the driver, saying Mercedes, Lewis or else, or Max or else, and you're seeing threats against, people who work on teams, racism thrown at Lewis Hamilton because he's a black driver, very nasty things said about women in the sport. So it's become very tribal, and not celebrating the fact that these are men, and in certain racing series, women, who put their lives at immense risk driving very, very fast cars. It's a scary sport, and we should celebrate talent over there. Instead of that, you're now looking at, audits that, and I don't think the championship should be won because of a rogue audit, but yeah, rules are rules. If I was to take a performance-enhancing drug in athletics, I'd be punished or I'd be banned. So similarly, I think some sort of punishment has to be given in case the rules were broken.
And I think it would be important for the FIA to
sort
of set an example, because as you mentioned earlier, voices are now now. In fact, McLaren also has.
Zach Brown. Yeah,
Zach Brown has also raised a red flag. He wrote a letter last week to the FIA, which was leaked to the media apparently two days ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So, how does fans,
How do fans
how
see
should
it?
they react? Would a Red Bull fan would go to the T and
As
defend,
I just
they would
mentioned,
see?
I just mentioned, the unfortunate part about Formula One right now, maybe because of things like Netflix's Drive to Survive, is that it's become a very tribal support. I mean, you're a McLaren or else, or you're a Red Bull or else. You're a Lewis Hamilton fan. You have to enjoy driving. I mean, Lewis can lose. Lewis is a great driver. I mean, he's a 7-time world championship winner after all. But if he loses to Max on a good race, you should, no matter who you support, you should just clap your hands and say, great drive.
Right.
Instead, if Lewis loses to Max, there are Lewis fans who curse Max. If Max loses to Lewis, the opposite happens. I mean, it shouldn't be that way.
Right. And I think it's again an evolving situation. The probe is on.
Yeah.
Fans, all stakeholders are waiting, and I think we should also wait for what's the verdict from the FIA is. And
I've said if you can read my column last Sunday, and we'll do another column whenever the verdict comes across.
Absolutely. Our viewers must keep a watch on that next column. Moving on to the second topic that we have hand, that the bane of dangerous driving, and why auto content creators with considerable social media influence must talk about it. So what is it that...
you saw the video that went viral of these boys driving down the Purvanchal Expressway on a BMW, and they hit 230 and they were saying about teen so karenge or whatnot.
Right.
And then after that Facebook Live ended, we went into the back of a truck. And there are other Instagram posts out there where people are popping their heads out of the sunroof in a moving car, which please don't do that. The sunroof is not meant for you to pop your head out of a moving car. People putting their children on their lap while driving. And these are big influencers. Even an advertisement I'd like to talk about, which is the AU Small Bank advertisement starring Amir Khan and Kiara Advani, which has got into trouble with some Sanskari types for a different reason, because I believe he enters the house first in that ad. But I noticed that ad because they are not belted in the back. And right now with everybody, after the Cyrus Mystery incident, people are saying about belting in the back. Maybe this ad was shot earlier in the year, before the accident, I mean, you release schedules.
Regardless of that.
But, regardless of that, I think advertisements and movies should highlight. I mean, of course, you're not going to take away the thrill of a car chase in a movie. I mean, Hollywood does some brilliant car chases. You've all seen such great movies, Fast and the Furious, all the Fast and the Furious series. I mean, but there is a warning before the movie that these are stunts, done by stuntmen.
Do you think those warnings, those text in very low font, do they make a difference? I mean, I think the viewers are more interested in skipping that probably.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, it also legally protects the advertising or the movie guys. But I'm not saying you should have text whenever somebody's, like in movies in India, you have to put text whenever somebody's smoking. Right. You say that smoking is injurious to health, and it is. But, when you're driving without a helmet, when you're driving without a seatbelt, sometimes it's important for the story. Sometimes, I can't take that away. But in advertising, there should be no leeway whatsoever. Advertising has to be very clear. People should be belted in at the back. People should not be popping their head out of sunroofs. And it should also be other people as well. And this includes politicians. Yesterday, the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia, was waving to crowds while popped out of the sunroof. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has waved to crowds popping out of the sunroof. You set precedents. I mean, yes, I guess you're a politician, you're moving at a very, very slow speed. I get it. But others will say, if they can do it, why can't we? And, Kids are out of sunroofs.
I don't think there is any legality that is being
Well, you should
compromised.
no. There is a legality that is being compromised now that every occupant of a car has to be securely belted into the car,
Right.
whether it is a child or an adult.
No, I was referring to the sunroof part. Where
Yeah, but you're not legal. You're not belted. You're not secure in a sunroof. You're outside your belt. You could be standing on your seat.
Right.
I mean, nothing wrong. I mean, sunroofs are great. I know people are saying there should be a mechanism to shut them, but what's the point? I mean, the sunroof is there to enjoy the weather. But what I mean to say is that if you're an influencer, or if you can influence, if you're like a politician or a movie star, make sure you follow the rules. When you do an advertisement, make sure you wear a helmet. I mean, of course, car chases will be there, and car chases are by their nature not safe, or car advertisements that are done on closed circuits, or say, if TVS is doing a motorcycle ad shot at the BIC track, of course, their riders can go fast because that's what a track is all for.
So you think that's going to make a difference?
It should make a difference. And I also think that social media platforms such as Meta, through Instagram and Facebook or Twitter or others, the short video formats should look at a way of taking videos down. And I know we've gotten into a lot of controversy about content being taken down lately, but when you are showing your child on your lap, or you're showing a child being actively endangered,
Right.
that content has to be taken down. Or you're showing dangerous driving habits, or you're showing speeds that are way too fast. I mean,
Right.
the Purvanchal Expressway is a very good expressway, I believe. I've not driven there as yet, but it's a high-speed road. I think the speed limit is 100 plus. There is no reason for people to post videos of driving at 200.
But I guess then the viewers get this message from us, from you specifically, on this, and this could be one of those things that you are saying should be done more often by people of influence. With that, we move on to our third topic of the day, the most awaited event on the calendar of Indian automobile sector, the Auto Expo, which starts early next year in January.
Oh wow, I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, the Auto Expo 2020 was the last major auto show in the world before our lives changed forever.
Right.
It was a fun show. This year, many companies are not taking part, some are, and I believe Lexus will be a new participant altogether. So we'll see what happens. There are some really big launches scheduled. Maruti is supposedly going to showcase the new Jimny or Gypsy, whatever you wish to call it. You're going to have new cars from other manufacturers as well. You'll possibly see the Ioniq 6 and the facelifted Creta from Hyundai. You'll probably have the facelift of the Seltos and the Sonet.
Do you think EVs are going to take a big space this year?
Yes, I think everybody. So Ioniq 6 from Hyundai. I think Kia's next EV as well. I think Toyota also will be showcasing their EVs. Volkswagen Group might be taking part with their EVs, whether it's Volkswagen or Skoda. So it should be very interesting, a lot more EVs. Not all of them will go on sale, obviously. We don't know how many new cars. A lot of it at the Auto Expo are concepts and showcases.
Yeah, that's something that really I wanted to know, because it's a flagship event, and there is a lot of projection that happens from the auto industry. Ideas are there, new cars are there, which probably take years before they come into factory production.
Yes.
A lot of them don't make it to the factories.
Yes.
So how should promises be seen in an auto expo that comes back nearly after 3 years?
It's strange. I mean, some people, when they launch, they showcase their concept. The concept looks very close to the final product. Obviously, it might have very, very narrow tires, which in Indian conditions don't work, or you might have cameras for rear view mirrors. Again, not a great idea in India, maybe. That was the case with when Kia showcased the Sonet, but at least in terms of otherwise, exterior design was very close to the final product. A few years ago, I recall Maruti showcased a car which looked very, very stunning. It was But that car turned out to be what we see as the espresso today, and it looks very different from what we saw at the Auto
I guess
Expo.
that's what happens.
But it depends. I mean, of course, concept cars are places where designers can play around. And of course, concepts are concepts because you have an unlimited budgets. When you're making a car, when you're manufacturing a car, you have budget constraints. I mean, the Espresso is a very affordable car, let's put it like that. So obviously it cannot, if it was to, the concept had what you call suicide doors that open out on both ways, which the Espresso clearly doesn't have.
So I guess, I mean, the auto enthusiast should look forward to that, and then
yeah, you should look forward to it. I'm sure it's from the 11th to the 18th of January 2023. I'm looking forward. I'll be actually meeting up with some of the guys who are going to be showcasing that. So over the next few shows we do, Anurag,
we would be coming back to Auto Expo with a special dedicated episode or more than one episode. So
no, not only we'll do auto episodes while that's going on, but I'll try and tell you in future episodes in the coming months about what is going to be happening. Let's try and get safe.
Because more and more details would be coming in.
Yeah. It'll be exciting.
Right.
And we'll probably be getting in some interviews. Do let us know what you think of this show. Anurag, you are Jankari at Twitter?
Yeah.
And I am Kushan Mitra at Twitter. So, yeah.
So, with that, we come to an end of yet another episode of The Print Dashboard. Please do keep listening. Thank you.